Satnam, and good morning from beautiful Boulder, Colorado. And look who I have sitting here, my divine sister, Seane Corn. We want to welcome Seane Corn to Light on Light magazine and lightonkundalini.com and recognize her beauty. Just take a moment, breathe. Because sitting in Seane's presence, as I've always sat for since 1996 actually, I met Seane in LA, Santa Monica, Yoga Works. You know, I was thinking about it this morning in Gurumuk's class. I was thinking, how incredible is it that God puts me in a house right around the corner from Yoga Works to find you. I'm sure that was the only reason I got that house in Santa Monica.
I love that. Yeah.
So that's our history. Seane, I took your class yesterday, and thank you. You're consistent. But there's a soul that you reach inside of each one of our souls that you're consistent with offering. Can you talk a little bit about who serves you back with that?
Oh, well, you know, my commitment is to God, and first and foremost, and I know what my purpose is, and I know what my responsibilities are to that purpose, and that's to show up fully, as authentically as I can, as honestly as I can, as present as I can, and that I'm only accountable to making sure that I deliver the information in the way that I believe in my heart I'm supposed to. And so as long as I'm in service to that and I remain in integrity to it, I feel fulfilled. I do not burn out. It's sustainable. The moment I go off course and I get stressed out by the room or my ego gets involved in it, I feel it in my body immediately. I don't feel sustained. I'm tired. I feel that fatigue on a deep body level, soul level. In the physical world, though, I mean, my partnerships sustains me. My mother sustains me. I have people in my life who feed my soul, who remind me of what's important in the physical world, relationships, and make certain that I stay present to them. Yeah, so that's what feeds me.
We need that support.
Yeah.
So you often talk about how to get through those blocks and those ancestors that you carry along, and we all carry along, and that's really important to honor and love them and forgive them, as you spoke yesterday so deeply, and I totally resonate with that forgiveness, because I feel like in every relationship I had to go back into forgiveness in order to find awareness.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet when that does show up in your life or on the yoga mat, what do you do to, I know we can breathe, I know we can meditate, I know we can pretend to be, what do we do when, let's talk about a young woman or a man that's going through a transformation of addiction, let's say. So there is something they need every single day, right? How can we start this path for them? What information can we give them besides your new book, which is coming out September 2019. Name?
I can't tell it just yet.
Okay, good.
Soon, though. Soon.
I love a secret.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what can we do besides read your book and work with meditation, of course, and yoga to get them to relax in a place in which they can actually trust that they're going in the right direction?
It's going to be so unique for each person, Everyone's process to healing and wellness is very individual. For some, it might just be getting them to lay on the mat and just be still and breathe. For others, it's getting them on the mat and moving and breathing. But what it really comes down to as a teacher and holding that space for anyone who's in the process of healing is understanding that everyone is dealing with trauma, that trauma lives in the body, that when they do start moving and breathing, that inevitably, as they release the tension, information is going to arise. That's a demarcation moment, because in the discomfort of the big feelings, people will use drugs or alcohol or sex or food as a way to numb out or anesthetize. On the yoga mat, you've got big feelings coming up, but you don't necessarily have access to those substances. All you have is your mind. And that can get very scary for someone who's dealing with addiction, because then the negative self-beat comes up, the projections come up, the going into the past, going into the future. So those are the moments where you have to normalize that. That is an important part of the process, to be present to the discomfort and recognize it as a sensation in the body that changes. And that if they breathe into that sensation, the anxiety, at first it'll accelerate. At first, the fidgeting will happen, a little bit of panic maybe, but if they stay with the breath, that the anxiety shifts and there's spaciousness. Those are moments of grace, but it's hard to know that, because for anyone who deals with addiction, the contraction is what's safe. We know the contraction. We don't know what's on the other side of the contraction, which is vulnerability. And for anybody, vulnerability isn't often a safe place to be. So the yoga practice teaches you how to be with the vulnerability at your own pace. And as you develop those psychic muscles to be with the discomfort, the practice begins to, I don't want to say advance, it just becomes more complex, and other doorways open. But those doorways open when you're ready. So anyone who's dealing with challenges, just know that the practice of yoga helps you to get in your body, gives you the tools that you need to self-regulate, so that in conflict, in crisis, when those triggers come up, that you know how to manage them without necessarily needing to go towards the addictive substances, that in those moments that you know that there's a choice to be made and you're more resourced to make that choice.
Wow, thank you so much. That's so valuable. We were speaking, there's two things more. Our dad, because I know you went through a lot. And you loved your dad so much. And me too. And we were in a state, with the father. We're in a state as daughters with fathers, and we have this love with our partners as well as our fathers and our mothers. But we're talking about the father. So you recovered so well. Do you give it all over to God?
To God, yeah. Well,
yoga, or process, or understanding.
And, when my father died of cancer 8 years ago, and my father was sick for about 7 years prior to that, so he got diagnosed.
And that journey for you,
it was the 7 years that, so it's not that I recovered. My dad, who was also a yoga teacher, helped walk me through that process of his dying and death, so that when he did die, I was prepared as you can be emotionally, but all the things that needed to be done before the passing happened we had already initiated all that, and there was a lot of conversation. It was very open. We dealt with death in our family. We dealt with it. And
you spoke about it.
Yes. We spoke about cancer. We spoke about death. We were profound and profane. My family's very funny and very quick-witted and dark, gallows humor. And my father initiated all of that. But because of it, what my dad wanted was to normalize the experience of grief and dying. It was one of his requests. 3 months before he died, he sat me down and he told me that after he died, he wanted me to teach a class called Yoga for a Broken Heart, and he wanted me to do it within 3 months of his death. And I was like, oh, hell no. I said, Dad, you're not gonna be able to pick me up off the floor. I'll be a mess. And he said, they need to see you a mess. They need to see you living life.
Did you hear that? You need to see her a mess, living life.
Yeah.
That is so...
That you can do both at the same time, and you can talk about it and honor the process. And it was the hardest thing I did, but I did. 3 months, almost to the day when my father died, I taught the first Yoga for a Broken Heart. And I was clutching that stage as I was sharing story after story about the process of grief and how to own it and be with it. When our impulse, it's so intense, you just want to run. It's so complex, and grief can't be named because it's unique for everyone and it's shape shifts.
When you say you just want to run, how can we serve right now in this people from recognizing they're running? Right?
Yeah, and
That's
you.
the medicine.
Thing is, you can't stop people. You can give them tools. You know, like you really can. You can provide tools and offer support and suggestions and resources on how to stay in your body, but everyone's got their own process. And sometimes for the first, in deep grief, you have to run until you exhaust that option.
Okay.
And then you find the resource. Some people can find the resources right away. I don't know how it looks for every person. I do know that there are resources. Communication was one of them, and that's what my father made me talk about things I didn't want to talk about, forced me to, because he needed it to get out of my body. Otherwise, I was going to suppress it.
So you went to a therapist?
Oh, I've been in therapy since I was 18 years old. Yeah, but my father made me talk about it with him.
Oh, okay.
He made me say goodbye. He made me pick out the songs for his funeral in front of him, with him. He made me like talk about my eulogy. Like it was traumatic. My dad was, yes, I know. But he kept saying, you've got to express this. Otherwise it'll stay here. And he said that it's energy, like everything. That the more I communicate, the more I discharge it. And so when he did die, it was, I was able to stand up and honor my father and not buckle the way I would have had I not already been processing for about a year, a deep year with my father and I just dealing with this. And I was able to stand up there and say all that I needed to say and cry and all of it, but without losing myself, without dissociating. I was able to be present. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Daddy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yay, Daddy.
And what was his quote? No, we don't want to say it. They'll have to read the book.
You have to read the book
because the quote's really good.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, read the book. So September 2019, the book will be out, and I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about you and Sadhana this morning, thinking that really, how does it not become autobiographical, or is it?
Parts of it are. There's a lot of teaching in it.
Okay,
There's
good.
narratives that talk about certain aspects of my spiritual journey, and then narratives that break it down in science and in concepts.
Good.
And so it's messy when I'm in the process. I'm at that age, so I have no awareness. I'm just in the process. And then the teaching comes with awareness, experience. So I'm able to say, like, here's what was happening.
That's beautiful.
And I hope it helps people who are on their own path find humor and purposefulness, that every moment connected and was essential. You just can't know it when you're standing in it. It just feels completely
gritty, right?
Just humbling and humiliating and everything but spirit.
Okay, so what are you going to do to play today? How are you going to play in Colorado Rockies today?
I am going to hang out with a girlfriend and have a cup of coffee.
Okay, good.
I'm going to meet my ex-boyfriend for lunch and hang out with him. He's a sweetheart, and we're very good friends. So we'll catch
Is he in
up.
Boulder?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He's here. He's teaching, just to add to the whole the mystique of it all.
But how important is it to be friends with your ex?
Yes.
You guys, they're just part of our journey.
Oh,
Look at the children.
To me, it's very, very important, and it always has been. Like I don't think there's a single ex that I don't have some kind of relationship with. And I think it's vitally important. I think it's important for my partner to also maintain positive relationships with his exes. They shared significant moments in time together that helped them both on their paths. How could I prevent them from being in some kind of a changed relationship? So we're gonna hang out and catch up and gossip and do all the things that you do, and know each other on that kind of a level. So we'll have fun.
So I want to leave this with the image for everyone that we're on a canoe and we're flowing down the Varanasi, the Ganga in Varanasi, and we're watching all the dead die in as they were burnt. And the ashes go in, and as a sadhu covers his body with ash and naked, can we just know that we're ancient sisters?
Oh yeah,
and that our path is crossed again.
Maybe in Varanasi.
In Varanasi, we met there.
Maybe we'll meet there again.
Okay, good.
Let's go to Varanasi.
Let's plant that. Okay, done. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you very much. I love you. 22 years and counting.
Is it 22? which
Yeah,
year?
if 1996,
Double
right?
11.
Yeah, double 11.
Ooh, mastering. We're done.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Satnam, everyone. Blessings.